Waste of public funds is not going away. Yeah, the Auditor General has just released a raft of new reports, and some of the findings will blow your mind. This morning, we focus on a few of the findings. For example, the indictment of the Honorary Consul General at Ghana's Washington Mission and Houston Consulate for not being able to account for visa fees totaling 354,760 US dollars, or 2 million Ghana cedis, to put it in language we will all understand. The Free SHS Secretariat is accused of misapplying more than 19 million Ghana cedis of its allocations. In addition, the Auditor General says ex-Tourism Minister Catherine Afeku is keeping 3 official vehicles despite leaving office. Oh, one more. Member of Parliament Queen Star Poku Asoya is accused of spending 39,000 Ghana cedis of her MP allocation on non-existent works. You're welcome to Corruption Watch. It's sponsored by Danida in collaboration with our partners Ghana Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, Ghana Integrity Initiative, GII, the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, GACC, the Africa Center for International Law and Accountability, ASILA, and multimedia platforms Joy FM and Adum FM. We're all over the place on social media. On Facebook, look for Corruption Watch Ghana. On Twitter, it's Corruption Watch or at CW Ghana. On Instagram, we are Corruption Watch _GH. And on YouTube, just type in Corruption Watch Ghana. Our website is corruptionwatchghana.org, and the phone number for calls and WhatsApp is 055 22 000 33. Again, 055 22 000 33. The hashtag is WanaMoney or Ghana Abre. Okay, so on Corruption Watch today, we're going to feature 2 of the 6 segments that we rotate. Today, it's going to be What's New and Anti-Corruption School. Okay, so our guests who will help us with Anti-Corruption School are the Director General of the Internal Audit Agency, Dr. Eric Udru Osai, and Mr. Vitus Adabo Azim of BSF Consulting is an anti-corruption and tax justice campaigner. He will join us as well. Okay then, let's start with what's new. The Auditor General has released a new report detailing how some ministries, departments, and agencies in this country have not efficiently utilized or accounted for almost 2.1 billion Ghana cedis of public funds as at the end of December 2020. Now, among the institutions and individuals indicted by the Auditor General are the Free SHS Secretariat, ex-Tourism Minister Catherine Afeku, and current Member of Parliament for Aguna East, Queen Star Mami Poku Asoya. Churchill is going to give us in a minute all the details which have been put together by our Corruption Watch team. But before then, I need to state this. Please pay attention. The Auditor General's report has gone through due process. Management responses have already been sought. Therefore, we are only going the extra mile when we try to get reactions from the persons or institutions indicted. And we did try to get responses from the institutions and individuals in question, but to no avail. By the way, it's worth mentioning that the Auditor General's report is one of the few documents that is accepted as evidence in criminal cases. And you know the threshold for evidence in criminal cases is very high. But the Auditor General's report, as it is accepted as evidence in such cases because it has all sides to the story. Winston will now help us with the details.
Well, so the Office of the Auditor General, under the hand of Johnson Ekwuamasiedu, who is Acting Auditor General, transmitted this report that I'm about to share with you to the Speaker of Parliament on 11th June 2021. And the report states that when the Auditor General and his team set out to audit accounts of MDAs to ascertain the state of their account at the close of the year 2020, they were guided by these objectives. Proper records and books of accounts were maintained. The accounts were properly kept. All public monies due were fully accounted for, and rules and procedures applicable were sufficient to ensure an effective check on the assessment, collection, and proper allocation of the revenue. Monies were spent for the purpose for which they were appropriated, and the expenditures made as authorized, and programs and activities were undertaken with due regard to economy, efficiency, effectiveness in relation to the resources utilized and results achieved. Now, at the end of the exercise, the Auditor General reports that there were financial irregularities amounting to 2,053,176,449 Ghana cedis and 85 pesos. In other words, the Auditor General says that some MDAs in the country have not efficiently utilized or accounted for almost 2.1 billion cedis of public funds at the end of 2020. Now, in paragraph 11 of the report, the Auditor General comments that the irregularities represent either losses that had been incurred by the state through the impropriety or lack of probity in the actions and decisions of public officers, or, on the other hand, the savings that could have been made if public officials and institutions had duly observed the public financial management framework put in place to guide their conduct and also safeguard national assets and resources. The Auditor General categorizes the irregularities under 7 broad themes, namely tax irregularities, cash irregularity, indebtedness, loan or advances, payroll irregularities, stores, procurement irregularities, rent payment irregularities, and contract irregularities. However, if you go into the specifics, you find that breaches fall under corruption themes such as misapplication, misappropriation, theft, procurement infractions, etc. Now let's do a bit of comparative analysis. Because if you look at it critically, the 2.1 billion series of financial irregularities of 2020 portrays a general improvement in the financial management system when compared with outcomes for preceding years. So, for instance, in 2016 it was 2,165 million. In 2017, and it would surprise you, it reduced to 892 million. By 2018, it had increased by almost 500-fold to 5 billion 196 million, and it decreased to 3 billion 8 million in 2019 and 2 billion 53 million in 2020. So you could see from 2018 to 2019, 2020, there seems to be a reduction, but you ask yourself, is this what we expect as a country? I'll get back to it shortly. But tax, store, procurement, and rent irregularities decreased sharply from the 2019 levels. Now, let's get to some specific cases. It's very important to look at the case. Now, we've selected to focus on the following 6 cases, which largely comprise cases of misapplication of funds, and the cases contravene Section 7 and 52 of the Public Financial Management Act, Act 2016, Act 921, as well as Regulation 78 of the Public Financial Management Regulations 2019, LI 2378. 1. Free SHS. Free SHS. Now, we noted during our review that between January 2019 and July 2019, a total of 19,217,802 received for free SHS to be utilized for various planned activities were rather advanced to 2 institutions without definite terms of recovery. At the time of audits, management had not recovered the amount from the beneficiaries who are shown in the table below. So let's get to the beneficiaries. Now, 9th October 2019, gives the check number here. The beneficiary is the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment. The activity printing and supply of teacher resource pack, training guides, teacher resource supplementary and curriculum framework, and the amount was 14,700,000. Now, on the 12th of June 2019, the Ghana Education Service is the beneficiary. It was second phase training workshop to support the implementation of the new pre-tertiary curriculum. The Auditor General continues that we recommend that management should ensure that the total amount of 19,217,802 advanced to the two organizations are paid back into the Free Senior High School account. 2 is the Washington Mission, and the Auditor General's finding is that the consular fees not accounted for by the Honorary Consul General is $354,760. That's a 2 million Ghana cedis. Now, it continues to say, our review of activities at the Washington Mission and Houston Consulate show that between 2018 September and September 2019, the Honorary Consul General levied each visa applicant $100 and $200 for express or rush service, but accounted for $60 and $100 as though they were the regular service, and kept the difference of $40 and $100 on each application.
Hey.
Yes. This is from the Auditor General, and it's on paragraph 690 to 691. These are not my words. I'm reading from the Auditor General's report. Okay?
Hey.
Now, it says, the Honorary Consul General between September 2018 and September 2019 collected total visa fees of $843,900, but accounted for $458,900, and the difference of $354,760 remain unaccounted for by the Honorary Consul General. We recommend that the head of Chancery, should recover the difference of $354,760 from the Honorary Consul General, failing which the amount should be recovered from the head of Chancery. Then we get to the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture Head Office. It's paragraphs 569 to paragraph 572. Now, the Auditor General's finding misapplication of Marine Drive project funds amounting to 387,196 Ghana cedis. I'll tell you what they were used for shortly. It says, we noted that the funds meant for the Marine Drive project amounting to the 387,196 was misapplied for the celebration of Afrima, Kundum Festival, and other activities. This is a breakdown. On 9th July 2018, there was a payment of additional expenditure for Honorable Minister's trip in the Volta region on the 15th to 18th of June in 2018, and the payee is the Chief Director, and the amount is 73,000 Ghana cedis.
Hey, please go over that.
It's 73,000 Ghana cedis.
I mean, what was that spent on?
It was spent on the payment of additional expenditure for the Honorable Minister's trip in the Volta region, 15th to 18th June 2018. You okay?
No, but go on.
Let me continue. Then we get to 3rd July 2018. Accountable impressed for Honorable Minister to travel to the Western region on official assignment. PE Chief Director amount 13,296 Ghana cedis. 25th May 2018, payment of allowance for bid opening panel for procurement of vehicle on 3rd May 2018. Chief Director was the PE, amount 900 Ghana cedis. Now, on the 16th of May 2018, release of funds to Palm Media Ghana Limited for the launch of Afrima 2018. That's at was going to happen on the 17th to 19th May. PE Chief Director, and the amount is 100,000 Ghana cedis. Now, the final one, and one that would shock you. The 27th of October 2018, release of fund to support Kundum Festival from the 1st to the 9th of September. PE Chief Director, amount 200,000 Ghana cedis.
So who does that go to? To support the festival.
To support the festival.
So who would that go to? The chiefs or the who?
Well, in festival planning, there's a planning committee, and so if you're supporting a festival, it will go to the planning committee, and that's it. But if the chief is a member of the planning committee, it goes to the chief also. Some make donations to the chief directly, so but it doesn't state here who was the recipient of the donation.
Hey.
So we recommend that the Chief Director should ensure a refund from the operations account into the Marine Drive project account, failing which the amount should be recovered from the Chief Director. And still on the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Creative Arts, it says failure to hand over official vehicles of the ministry. Now, we noted from our inspection of the ministry vehicles that 5 official vehicles were in possession of 3 former officials who separated from the ministry through reassignment and terminations. Catherine Afeku, Minister of Culture, Tourism and Creative Arts, reassigned as Minister of State in the Office of the Senior Minister. Toyota Land Cruiser GV 53514, Toyota Land Cruiser GS 269618, Toyota Hilux GX 228018, Jenny Adade, Toyota Corolla GN 423115, termination of appointment. On the 3rd of September 2018, Catherine Afeku reassigned to the Senior Minister's Office on April 30th, 2019. Olivia Opoku Adoma, Toyota Land Cruiser number GT4573X, termination of appointment 11th September 2019. We recommend that the Chief Director should ensure the recovery of the vehicles from the above-named individuals. We further recommend that the use of the vehicles by the individual should attract rental charges at the current rental rate for the period during which the vehicles have been in their possession.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah. Then we get to the Ministry of Health, paragraph 286 to 287. Misapplication of drug funds amounting to 288,602. It says a review of the payment records of 11 BMCs, that's Budget Management Centers, revealed that transfers amounting to 288,602 were made from the drug accounts into the service accounts for recurrent expenditure during the period of audits. The breakdown is as follows. So the National Cardiothoracic Center, period June to October 2019, amount 59,000. Kaneshi Polyclinic, February 2019, 14,680. Asha Polyclinic, May 2019 to August 2019, 10,500. Pram Polyclinic in the Greater Accra region, 78,531. Old Ningo Health Center, 8,961. Dadieso Government Hospital, August 2019 to March 2020, 15,467. Enchi Government Hospital, July 2019 to August 2020, 27,000. Pintok Government Hospital, July to October 2019, 35,000. St. Teresa's Hospital in Nandom, 19,400. Etimetim Health Center, in December 2019, 4,000. And Commander Health Center, 15,000. We recommend that the heads of the budget management centers should ensure immediate refund of their respective amounts into the drug account and desist from such practice.
The reason why this is important, obviously, is because this is money that is earmarked for drugs, vital life-saving drugs. But they are being sent to these healthcare centers to spend on recurring expenditure.
Yeah.
Hey,
Mental Health Authority, paragraph 331 to 333. Program funds not accounted for amounting to 137,327. Our examination of the payment vouchers showed that in February 2019, program funds amounting to 366,000 paid to 7 partners on behalf of the World Health Organization to support quality rights implementation had only 229,399 accounted for, leaving a difference of 137,327. We recommend that the CEO should ensure that all implementing partners immediately refund the monies, failing which the amount should be recovered from the CEO. And Aguna East District Health Directorate. It says Aguna Nsaba, payment for no work done amounted to 39,000. We noted that an amount of 39,000 was released to the Honorable MP, that's Queen Star Pokuya-Soya, who is MP for Aguna East, as MP's share of the National Health Insurance allocation for health-related interventions. However, no expenditure documents and certificate for work done were provided to authenticate the payments. We recommend that the director, Kofi Menz, the accountant Charles Tobo, and Honorable Queen Star Pokuya-Soya should refund the total amount of 39,000 Ghana cedis.
Oh boy. It's a depressing read, isn't it?
It is.
Let's go straight into our anti-corruption school, because there's a lot to discuss. And our guests this morning, we're very honored to have them join us. First of all, let's say good morning to Mr. Vitus Azim. Mr. Vitus Azim, of course, is an anti-corruption campaigner. He is from BSF Consulting Ghana, and he's joined by the Director General of the Internal Audit Agency, Dr. Eric Udru Osai, who's joining us via Zoom. Dr. Osai, it's good to see you. It's been a while. How are you?
I'm fine.
Right. We're working to re-establish that connection with...
I'm hearing you very well.
Oh, fantastic. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us. We also have Mr. Vitus Azim. Now, Mr. Azim, good morning. Thanks for your time. If you don't mind, I'd like to start with you.
Okay.
Generally, the understanding, in spite of the rather disturbing details, the understanding is that this recent audit is an improvement on Ghana's previous performance. Less than 2.1 billion unaccounted for. We're actually trending in the right direction when it comes to these numbers. Is that what does that mean for Ghana as in terms of our anti-corruption battle?
Well, if it just has to do with the amount of the volume of the money that have been lost, I don't think that it means so much to us, because it depends on how much money they had to spend the previous year and how much money they had to spend in this year that they did the audit. So if they had 10 million to spend last year, they couldn't have spent more than 10 million. If they had 20 million to spend this year,
right.
or let's say 5 million to spend this year, definitely it will be less than 5 million. So just looking at the quantities of money that have been lost is not enough to say that there's an improvement. You need to look at the issues that were involved in the previous year and the issues that were involved in this year. So that's how I look at it.
Right.
It's not enough to just measure the performance by the amount of money that has not been misused. We should rather be looking at the amount of money that has been properly used.
Now, assessing by that method, would you then say it's an improvement or not? Bearing in mind how much money was budgeted for in the last year and the year before.
Well, I cannot say because I don't have the budgeted figures. I'm just saying that if you want to do an assessment, you should compare those figures. But I don't have the budgeted figures as I'm talking to you.
Right. Okay. So, what would you say? What leaps out to you, Mr. Azim, as areas of concern?
The main area of concern to me is that it is boring to read these things, because every year we read the same thing. Every year we read the same thing, and they keep recurring. You sometimes feel like, oh, why do we even have to waste our time, waste the Auditor General's time going through these things when nothing is happening to the report? The Auditor General himself has had time to raise concerns about the inaction on the reports that they produce and the recommendations that they make. So that is the most painful thing about these audit reports.
Now,
and you see,
sure, go ahead, please.
And you see, that's why we set up the Internal Audit Agency.
Right.
Because if they had the power and are able to even, let's say, scrutinize proposed expenditures, vouchers that are being prepared, if they have the power to approve them before they are paid, some of these malpractices would have been avoided even at the beginning. They would not even have taken place. But the Internal Audit Agency, as the name implies, is under the executive. And so I don't think that they have that amount of independence that the Auditor General has. And that is a problem that we need to address as a country.
All right.
If you have an internal auditor that is independent, without answering to the Minister of Finance, would have been answerable to any minister under which the internal auditor is working, the situation would improve.
Right. Dr. Odrosai, let me bring you in here because, I mean, the point is being made by Mr. Azim that there is a massive gap which your agency is not filling. I mean, look at this particular item. Payment of additional expenditure for Honorable Minister's trip in the Volta region, 15th to 18th of June 2018. So for a 3-day trip by the Minister of Tourism, additional expenditure of 73,000 Ghana cedis was made. How does this end up being picked up in 2020 by the Auditor General? I mean, when there is internal audit arrangement for this particular MDA?
Thank you very much. I think we'll have to put it on record that before the external auditors would come in, the internal auditors would have picked some of these items and they were working on them. Let me also put it on record that it is important for listeners to know that there was a significant reduction in the irregularities reported by the Auditor General. And this significant drop is by 32% over that of the previous years. Others may say that, well, it is not anything to tout about, but from where I sit, the Internal Audit Agency has made a lot of interventions in the past 1 year. So I want to believe that no system is foolproof. What we can do is to continue to work to reduce such irregularities. Internal auditors are working, and I must say that Vitus hit the nail right on the head. The independence and objectivity of internal auditors in this country needs to be upped. And I must say that at the moment, the current Internal Audit Agency Act does not give the internal auditors in the public sector that independence and objectivity that they need. Because of that, there is a current Internal Audit Service Bill that is being worked on to move the agency from agency to a service so that that independence and objectivity would come. That notwithstanding, I think internal auditors would have to be commended for the effort. In the past 1 year, the agency has put in a lot of measures. One of them is the naming and shaming, and even working with the IOCO and Office of the Special Prosecutor to prosecute people who misapply funds. Let me also say that under the PFM, we have a number of interventions. Every public sector institution has an audit committee. These audit committees are chaired by independent professional chartered accountants from the Institute of Chartered Accountants and Internal Audit Agency. So suffice to say that most of the issues raised by the external auditor, that is the Auditor General, have been addressed as we speak. And all chairpersons of audit committees have been summoned to a meeting next week to give us an update on the extent to which they have implemented these items. So internal auditors are working, except that in auditing, what we can say is that we minimize the irregularities reported by external auditors. We would get there by reducing it drastically, but for now we can minimize it. And let me say finally too that anything that the external auditor would see, the internal auditor would have seen it 1 year before, except that the internal auditor works with the audit committees to pursue management to implement it. But at times, some of these management, they pursue them, they fail to implement them, then external auditors will pick them up.
So that's an interesting point. Whatever the external auditor will see, the internal auditor has seen 1 year before. So in essence, what you're telling us is that it doesn't really matter whether the internal auditor sees it or not. Action cannot be taken until the external auditor comes in. A whole year is not enough to rectify the anomaly?
No, it matters. What happens is that when the internal auditors pick some of these items, they run it by the audit committees. And the mandate of the audit committee is to pursue management to implement them. So the infractions you are seeing here were the ones that have not been implemented by management as at the time the external auditors visited. There may be more. The internal auditors, through the audit committees, may have pursued and forced management to implement them. So all the ones you are seeing in the Auditor General's report are the outstanding recommendations made by the internal auditors that have not been implemented. And even with that, I can say on authority that after receiving the report, I have followed up, and most of them have been implemented.
Okay, so let me ask you about this specific one. Honorary Consul General in the United States between September 2018 and September 2019 collected total visa fees of $843,900 but accounted for $458,900. The difference of $354,760 remains unaccounted for by the Honorary Consul General. This is something that is traced to one specific office holder. Were you aware of this, and what have you done about it, you and your office?
Thank you very much. We are aware of this, and here I must commend the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. She's taking action on it. I have met with the minister, and I can tell you that efforts are being made to implement all the outstanding ones. This one specifically, the minister is pursuing the officer to make sure that the funds are refunded. For the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the reason why these things are happening
has the officer been arrested?
The officer I know has been recalled to the head office, and administrative processes have commenced. I met with the Minister for Foreign Affairs on this, and I put it on record that I commend the minister. The number of interventions she has put in place has reduced a number of irregularities that we normally experience from Ghana's missions. Let me also mention that this is happening because Ghana's missions do not have internal auditors. And that is one of the serious gaps I established when I assumed office. So now we are working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to have internal auditors posted to critical Ghana's missions so that they will be able to quality assure most of these things. So interventions are being made.
Dr. Odrosa, you mentioned earlier that you often work with the MDAs to seek prosecution for those who break the rules and the laws. So are you doing that for this individual, or is it only administrative processes?
Yes, this is where I commend the Minister for Foreign Affairs. She invited the Internal Audit Agency in, and we have a team gathering relevant and reliable evidence on this matter that can support prosecution. And I can tell you, and in few days' time, you will hear from the agency. We are working with the IOCO on this matter and other related matters as far as Ministry of Foreign Affairs is concerned. And I will commend the Minister.
Very good. How about the Tourism Ministry? You have an internal auditor there?
Yes, we do. We have an internal auditor at the Tourism Ministry.
Okay, and so how come there are 5 vehicles which have not been accounted for since 2018 and 2019? And I mean, it's been over almost 2 years now. We haven't got these vehicles back. How come?
I'm happy to report that these vehicles have since been returned. Those vehicles were returned to the organization on the 16th of March, 2021. What is left is the rental charges the Auditor General recommended. And for that one, the internal auditor is working with the audit committee to ensure that that is implemented. But I can say on authority that all the vehicles have been returned to the institution. That of Honorable Katrina Feku and that of Madam Olivia have been returned, and they were returned on the 16th of March, 2021.
Your office, Mr. Osai, has a very big role to play in plugging these loopholes. You mentioned earlier that this year the numbers are down by about 30-something odd percent in terms of the irregularities that have been identified in the Auditor General's report. Mr. Azim was making an important point that when you're calculating this, it's important to know how much money was available to spend in each of these years. When you say that 30-something percent, does it take into account how much money was available to spend?
Definitely. It has reduced by 32%, and we pride ourselves by the fact that we have made a number of interventions in that regard. Now, that comes to about 2.4% of the total public expenditure, budgeted expenditure of government. So if it is 2%, the previous year, it came to about 2.1%. This year is 2.4%. So it is slightly higher by way of the budgeted government expenditure. However, we think that we'll continue to improve because from 2018, 2019 to 2020, we have seen a downward trend as far as the infractions reported by the Auditor General is concerned. And we are monitoring it. like I said, it is 2.4% of budgeted government expenditure for the 2020 fiscal year. We are working towards reducing it. So it's good. But let me mention that it is not also so about the reduction, but let us also look at the key components of the reduction. One of the areas of reduction that I am very happy about is payroll irregularity or fraud. When you look at the analysis, it will tell you that payroll irregularity has reduced. And in fact, it is the lowest as far as the irregularity chart for 2020 is concerned. And it tells you that the human resource management information system that has been put in place is working. The internal auditors within the various MBAs are also working because they also quality assure the payroll validation process. And payroll is a big area. When you look at the history of ghost names in this country, for some years past, it became a huge drain on government revenue. And the fact that 2020, it has reduced, for me, is something that I'm happy about. But we should also talk about the highest figure. Over 1 billion cedis as far as debt, advances, and loans are concerned. This one, it is an area of concern for us, and the agency will work with the Auditor General to ensure that those holes are plugged.
If you just joined us, this is Corruption Watch on the Super Morning Show. We're talking to Dr. Eric Odrosai, who is the CEO of the Internal Audit Agency. Sorry, the Director
General.
Director General. Thank you, of the Internal Audit Agency. Also, also Vitus Azim, who is an anti-corruption campaigner, is joining us. And before we go to Mr. Vitus Azim, Dr. Odrosai, this is a conversation about the Auditor General's report. Yet another conversation about the Auditor General's report. And once again, some of the infractions are disturbing. What is the plan? What's the master plan here for the audit service, the Internal Audit Agency, when it comes to plugging these loopholes going forward? What's the plan for the next Auditor General's report? Do you have any targets in mind, and what are you going to do to achieve them?
Thank you very much. Yes, we have targets. As soon as the Auditor General released the report, we engage the chairpersons of the audit committees, and we work with them to pursue management to implement these recommendations. Come next Tuesday, 27th, we are meeting all the chairpersons, and we expect feedback and progress by way of implementing the Auditor General's recommendation in the third quarter internal audit report from all MBAs. By 31st December 2021, we should see to it that more than 50% of these recommendations have been implemented. We also have plans in place to benchmark the reporting as far as 2022 is concerned. Let me also mention that the public sector internal audit is being restructured because the Internal Audit Agency Act was passed in 2003. It has not seen a lot of revisions. We are restructuring it, and currently there is a bill that is going to convert it into a service. Once this bill is passed, internal audit will have its independence, and all internal auditors will come under the control of the Internal Audit Agency. We will have our independence and objectivity. So the plan is internal auditors work with audit committees to pursue management to implement these recommendations, give us an updated plan in the third quarter internal auditors report, and by 31st December 2021, we should see a massive implementation of all these recommendations.
Right. Thank you for that. Mr. Vitus Azim, I deliberately wanted to hear Dr. Odrosai's plan before I come back to you. Because, of course, you expect a lot from the Internal Audit Agency. What do you think? What do you make of Dr. Odrosai's submissions and his plans for the next year?
Well, I think it is good that they have been able to maybe implement, or they are implementing some of the recommendations of the Auditor General. But I think that as an internal audit, they need to also focus on ensuring that they have measures in place to even prevent these things from happening. For example, our embassies and our foreign missions abroad, a visa payment is recorded. A receipt is issued, is recorded. It's supposed to go straight into the bank. Even some of them, they're supposed to go and pay the money into the bank. So how does it come about that the Chancellor General is able, or is unable to account for those monies? So apart from addressing the malpractice when they happen, I think that they need to focus more on even preventing it from happening. Ensuring, if it's me sending the general auditors around the embassies, to make sure that they have the proper ways of recording these monies and probably ensuring that they pay the money direct to the bank and that none of them has power to sign a check for those monies that they are not allowed to spend. They have a budget for recurring expenditure. Those are the money that they should be able to spend. So when they collect visa monies and they go into a visa account, it should not be possible for them to withdraw that money. If we're able to put all these measures in place at the beginning, I think that it will go a long way to even further reduce some of the malpractice that they have been addressing. That's one thing that I think is very important. Then the other side is just the second part of now addressing the concerns. Some of the things may go beyond the power of the internal auditor. So we need the political will and the commitment from the higher authority to take these things up. How come that, for example, the Auditor General has found out that there is some problem with money in a ministry and it takes more than a year or up to a year for those monies to be refunded? And we don't hear about it. Nothing is happening until the Auditor General reports on it. Because when the Auditor General does his audit, he sits with the management. He says, you have said that management letters are issued. Sit with them, and this officer has taken this money and has not been able to account for it. You either produce the money or you properly account for it, what you use the money for. Why should it take 1 year? So it requires the political will of the higher authorities to ensure, yes, the internal auditor is doing his part. But I think that the overall boss, whether it's the Minister of Finance, Controller, Accountant General, or even the President, should show interest in these monies. Because that has been the general complaint over the years. If we do that, first put the measures in the place to ensure that everything's done, and then even if there are malpractices, you take steps to deal with those that are engaged in those malpractices. That's the only way that we can help the Auditor General in his work. Next time, we may not even need an external auditor if they put these things in place.
Okay. Now let's look at the Auditor General's recommendations in this most recent report. What do you think? Are they conclusive enough? Could there be more? Several things are being recommended, including, quite interestingly, for those vehicles that have were delayed in being returned, the charge of rental fees. What do you make of the recommendations generally?
You see, the recommendations are good, but what action, what sanctions are you applying? As for the rental, you are using the car, you have rented a car to use it. What is the reason that you kept these cars when you're supposed to have handed them over back to the government? You have done something wrong. So it's not enough to return the vehicle. It's not enough for you to pay a rental because you have been using the car, unless you can show evidence. Even if you can show evidence that you haven't used the car, why was the car parked in your premises? So we should go beyond that to sanction them, penalize them for doing that. When somebody has taken money and has not accounted for 1 year, that is a loan that the fellow has taken from government. So the fellow should be in a position to pay interest on that loan apart from paying back the principal. You see, we have to make it very unattractive for people to interfere with government funding. Because when you do that, people will pay taxes willingly. At least most people will pay taxes willingly without complaining. If they are satisfied that their money, the taxes they pay, are properly used, and that where it's not properly used, some action is taken against those that are involved. So it needs a holistic approach, both collaboration and cooperation from the internal audit authority and or agency and the external auditor, and even also the ministers that are involved. Some of the actions can be taken even without the coming on board of the internal audit agency. Because the minister supervises the ministry. So if this comes to his attention, what prevents him from taking the appropriate action and waiting for the Auditor General to release a report saying that this indicting your ministry?
Right. Well, I want to say a big thank you to you, Mr. Vitus Azim, for joining us. Also, a big thank you to Dr. Eric Udrosai, who is the Director General of the Internal Audit Agency. So, that's Corruption Watch for you. So, well, I want you to feel empowered. I want you to know that in your own small way, you can help in the fight against corruption. Please reach us on the Corruption Watch hotline 055 22 00033 or send a WhatsApp to the same number 055 22 00033. Corruption Watch is brought to you in partnership with the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, Ghana Integrity Initiative, Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, the Africa Center for International Law and Accountability, and of course multimedia platforms Joy FM and Adom FM. Corruption Watch is sponsored by Danida, and it returns in 2 weeks' time.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Imagine say water wake up at dawn. E no bath, e no chop. Where e vanish for your area for 2 weeks. You no get $1